Well, hello guys, and welcome to the second episode of the F1 Ninja World Tour, where we are looking in the past, we're looking into the history, and looking into every circuit that has ever been raced in Formula One, and just looking at everything based on it. Now, second circuit, and if you watch the first episode, you already know which circuit we're talking about. But if this is your first one, then I have a little quiz for you. What do the three towns that you see to the right of me have in common? No idea? Okay. First town name is in Quiddleback. Apologies to any native speakers if I've got that right. Wrong, sorry. No? Okay, the second town is Hirschbreich. Okay, maybe you're thinking sounds German. Maybe it's in Germany. The third town, which is the castle, is Nurburg. Now you're probably getting somewhere on this. Yes, these are the towns that are surrounded by the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit, a track that hasn't been raced around by Formula One since 1976. Now you're probably going, hold on, Ninja, whoa, 1976? Don't you remember 3 years ago we had a Grand Prix there? And yes, there was the Eiffel Grand Prix in 2020 at the Nurburgring area. And we're both right. You're right for saying it was last in 2020, and I'm right for saying it's last in 1976. How on earth is that possible? Well, this is why. This is the Grand Prix circuit, or the Grand GP Secca of the Nurburgring, which was used up until 2020. It's been used a few times as well, and had plenty of winners: Mark Webber, Sebastian Vettel, Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, Lewis Hamilton. I could rattle on and on. This is GP Secca, the Grand Prix circuit for the Nurburgring. But this wasn't the track that we're talking about when it comes to the Nurburgring. In fact, the track that we're talking about is actually this one. The Nordschleife and GP circuit. Now you can see that bottom area, that's that GP circuit we're talking about, so it's part of the track. And this circuit is about 13 kilometers long. We've spoken about the Nurburgring before when talking about Sabine Schmitz. It is not just a famous track, but an infamous track. Now we're going to look into the history of things. We're going to look into many things actually, and not all of it overly happy and overly positive, but to look at the Nurburgring, to give it the respect it deserves, we need to consider all of it. Now, first thing to mention is this is a track you can actually visit and drive around yourself. It's a public access. You pay a bit of money to think you can drive around this track yourself. It's in the Nurburg Mountains. In central Germany, it's worth a look because, like I say, to motoring fans, this is one of the places that's considered Mecca. The Bonneville Salt Flats and the Nurburgring and Monaco and Le Mans are like the top four. Indianapolis probably covers the five. But this is one of the top five places to go to if you are a motor racing fan. It is a legendary circuit. And the thing is that this track has very humble beginnings. Who we have here on this motorbike is a guy called Gustav Eichler. Now, this was a guy in the 1920s, and he built this track, ironically, given its reputation, for the purposes of safety. You see, in the 1920s, we were in a situation where public roads were being raced on a lot. The thing you see around Monaco was happening everywhere. And they realised it was obviously dangerous. Dangerous for the public that were walking around, dangerous for the drivers, just dangerous for everybody. And he decided to do something about it and spent his entire fortune on building a track cut off from the public roads so that people could race safely. It's a huge track. It was a huge undertaking. The fact that it covers 3 towns gives you an idea of how big this project was. But he did it. He built it. And what you see, this bit in blue, was the original creation. In dark blue, you see the Grand Prix circuit, and that was sort of like, it wasn't as important. It was sort of like, this is our potential plans, but this is the big one. This is in 1925. This is how it's made. Huge. Absolutely huge. And actually, I just noticed there's even a fourth town in there. Yes, I didn't quite catch all of them. Now, here's the thing. I say he did this in regards to safety, and I'm right in that. But sadly, the Nurburgring, as a lot of people know, has a bit of a reputation for not being safe. And it's worth talking about that. These 4 drivers are Onofre Maramon, Peter Collins, Karel Godin de Beaufort, and John Taylor. Now, these 4 drivers are the 4 fatalities, Formula 1 fatalities at the Nurburgring. Now, you already sort of know that if they're Formula 1 drivers, they know what they're doing, they know what they're driving. But just to absolutely add it on, between them, they had 3 wins and 11 podiums. They knew how to drive. In fact, in one of them, in Peter Collins, he was considered quite an incredible driver. I think he finished second in one of the World Championships. He was that close to getting a World Championship himself. These are good drivers. And they all came a cropper, basically, because of the infamous style of the Nurburgring. And it's thanks to deaths like these that the Nurburgring got a nickname, the Green Hell. Now, I have to say as well, by the way, there's so many configurations of the Nurburgring circuit. I have to sort of specialize here. When I'm talking about the Nurburgring, I'm talking about the Nurburgring Nordschleife, also known as the North Loop. Not really talking about GP Seca. There's also the Nurburgring Südschleife, South Loop, and there's even a rallycross circuit there. It's that big. There's so many variations of it, but we are talking about the Nordschleife, the North Loop, in the one being infamous. That's the big one. That's the one that is, yes, a fantastic, incredible challenge, but also a dangerous challenge. Now, these are the 4 fatalities, but I have to mention, we absolutely have to mention the one incident at the Nurburgring that was the most infamous of them all. In fact, this is the exact reason why the Nurburgring Nordschleife was discontinued after 1976 and why, after 8 years, they went to the GP circuit. Because of this. Because of what happened to Niki Lauda. Now, we've done pieces on Niki Lauda in the past, and the one thing to say is he knew when a track was too dangerous, and he knew that the Nurburgring in the wet, which it normally was hazardous. That even the 20 best drivers of all time, any one of them could crash, any one of them could die. And Niki Lauda almost did. And as you can imagine, it was a tear off from that. Now, like I say, that's sort of the situation when it comes to the Nurburgring, it being discontinued ever since the Nordschleife. And you might think that's a sad thing, right? But I want to just bring back one of the past slides. Oh no, sorry. Before I talk about the past slides, this is the GP circuit. Now, I will say this: the GP circuit is a brilliant circuit to drive around on as well. The hairpins and everything like that. And like I said, and like we said, that's been used from 1984 to 2013. It was even used in 2020. It's a brilliant track to drive around. It's quite a fun one to drive around, and to have a GP circuit, although it's not been used in Formula One for 3 years, that where you can see the Nordschleife in the distance, that's a cool feeling, right? But like I say, the Nordschleife discontinued. And you might think that's a bad thing, but I want to bring it back to this scene. Gustav Eichler again. And this is where we talk about legacy, right? Gustav built the Nurburgring for safety. What would Gustav be feeling if he was alive today? Knowing that the track that he created for safety, because of safety concerns, was discontinued. What would Gustav do if he was in charge of the circuit? He probably would discontinue it himself. He would say, no more Formula One. I care about the safety of the drivers. This is an infamous circuit. And this is one of those beautiful things where it is good to see Formula One moving in a direction that focuses on the safety of their drivers. Whether that's discontinuing a track because it is not safe enough, or whether that is sorting out the protection of drivers. The Nurburgring was a precedent of that from 1976 because they started to realise we've got to care about our drivers now. George Russell wouldn't be saying the comments he's been saying about Spa if there wasn't the focus on safety anymore. And so that's one thing we can be proud of as Formula One. It's the fact that thanks to people like Gustav and the situation surrounding the circuits like the Nurburgring, we can say that yes, it's a dangerous sport, but it's been made the most safe it can be. So kudos to the Nurburgring, the most infamous circuit of all time. So that is the Nurburgring. Would you like to see which track we're going to do next? I'm sure you would. Here we go. Here's the wheel of circuits. Here's the wheel of names. Where are we going to go next? Let's see. Here we go. We are going to... Oh, this one's going to be a new one. Even I don't know about this one. The Zeltweg Airfield. Now, I've never heard of the Zeltweg Airfield until now. So that is where we're going to be going next. And I am looking forward to seeing you for the next episode when we talk about exactly that. Take care, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to make your own comments. Take care.